The trigger may have been an ISIS message posted Saturday on a website calling on followers to use vehicles, guns, and knives to kill civilians of the Crusaders during the holy month of Ramadan.
Blessed are the eyes that see what you see. For I tell you, many kings and prophets have desired to see what you see, and have not seen it. To hear what you hear, and have not heard it. I thank you, Father, for hiding these things from the learned and the wise, and revealing them to the innocent and the simple.
Eight minutes. Londoners today reckoning with what happened in those 8 chaotic minutes of terror that shattered a summer night.
Some guy come round the corner and went, run, run, run. They got blazed knives. They're going to stab you, the terrorists. Run.
It began at 10:08 p.m. A white van heading south on London Bridge suddenly swerves off the road up on the sidewalk and accelerates, running down pedestrians, leaving them broken and bloodied on the pavement.
It's indescribable, the state they were in. You never think you're going to see something like that.
The BBC's Holly Jones just happened to be on that bridge.
This is when I saw the driver of the vehicle, and definitely intentional. You know, he didn't look scared, he just looked focused, and I'd almost like to say the word demented.
That van coming to a stop at the south end of London Bridge. 3 men get out, armed with long knives, head towards the bustling borough market, and begin slashing and stabbing people indiscriminately.
They said that this is for Allah, and they just, all 3 of them ran out, just like that, everywhere, stabbing her all over.
Elizabeth O'Neill's son Daniel was there and survived an attack.
And a man ran up to him and said, "This is for my family, this is for Islam," and stuck a knife straight in him. He's got a 7-inch scar going from his belly round to his back.
In the streets, panic.
I just saw suddenly loads of people run away from the market, and there was people lying on the ground.
Police swarming the scene, ordering terrified patrons in restaurants to take cover. Police quickly cornered the suspects. Then a hail of gunfire.
Oh my God!
All told, 50 shots fired by 8 officers. And all 3 attackers dead on the ground, each wearing what looked like suicide vests but were fakes meant to spread terror. It was 10:16 p.m. 8 minutes. The injured on the ground, first responders applying pressure to stem the bleeding from the knife wounds. Of the 48 people admitted to hospitals, 21 are in critical condition.
Would you please leave the area for your own safety?
Terrified crowds hustled to safety, told by police to keep their hands on their heads. This, the 3rd attack in the UK in 3 months. Prime Minister Theresa May addressing her people, vowing tougher anti-terror measures.
We cannot and must not pretend that things can continue as they are. Things need to change.
That killer van towed away late today while the survivors count their blessings.
We cannot allow this ideology the safe space it needs to breed. Yet that is precisely what the internet and the big companies that provide internet-based services provide. We need to work with allied democratic governments to reach international agreements that regulate cyberspace to prevent the spread of extremist and terrorism planning. And we need to do everything we can at home to reduce the risks of extremism online.
Well, just like terrorists are constantly evolving, finding new ways to disrupt us, harm us, attack us, the police and experts and all of us are finding new ways to keep us safe. Londoners will see an increased police presence today and over the course of the next few days. No reason to be alarmed.
Take a look at this time-lapse footage capturing the tornado north of Calgary. No one was injured and damage was contained to one rural property. Canada averages just 80 tornadoes per year, so this was pretty rare, while the U.S. reports some 1,300.
Afghanistan's capital of Kabul was hit today by one of its worst attacks in years. A suicide truck bomb killed at least 90. Around 400 were wounded. The bomber struck close to the German embassy not far from Afghan government buildings.
The powerful truck bomb exploded in Kabul's diplomatic quarter during the packed morning rush hour. The timing chosen with devastating effect. The force of the blast so powerful that windows were shattered more than a mile away, leaving a massive crater. CBS News producer Ahmed Mukhtar.
All the buildings surrounding this site is completely destroyed, and you can see nothing is left behind.
Bloody, stunned civilians with makeshift bandages staggered from the area, while ambulances ferried the wounded to nearby hospitals. A never-ending line of horror. I heard a terrible sound, said this man. When I opened my eyes, I saw blood coming out of my shoulder. The German embassy, among others, was extensively damaged, the presidential palace just around the corner. This man was in a nearby building. I was trapped, he said. People were on the floor and there were streams of blood. The Taliban has denied responsibility. Afghan intelligence suspect the militant Haqqani network in the east of the country may be to blame. The attack comes at a time the US is weighing sending in more troops, just as the militants proved yet again they can strike at the heart of the city.
Syrian media say U.S.-led airstrikes have killed 43 civilians in a residential building in the northern city of Raqqa. State TV says most of the casualties were women and children. The number of reported civilian deaths caused by U.S.-led airstrikes have increased in recent months. It comes as various militias compete with government forces in a race to capture Islamic State's main stronghold in Syria and other areas held by the extremist group. The Syrian government has denounced the involvement of the U.S.-led coalition as illegal and a violation of Syrian sovereignty.
Elsewhere in the region, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says he may order a new military onslaught against Kurdish fighters in Syria if they attack Turkey. Erdogan was referring to the Kurdish YPG group, which he says is directly linked to the outlawed PKK in Turkey. His comments came after Turkish media said the United States was resupplying the PKK and YPG in Syria. Last month, U.S. President Donald Trump angered Turkey when he authorized the Pentagon to provide weapons to the YPG, in addition to the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, to fight Islamic State.
Heavy rainstorms coupled with strong winds continue to lash many parts of China, forcing the National Observatory to renew its blue alert in central, southern, and eastern country. According to the National Meteorological Center, heavy rain will continue to hit these areas through Tuesday. Torrential rain is expected to sweep parts of the central China, including Shanxi, Henan, Hubei, Hunan, as well as the southern provinces of Fujian, Guangdong, and Guangxi. Thunderstorms, strong winds, and hailstones are also forecast in some of the areas, and the Weather Center warned of risks of torrents and landslides.
Iraqi government forces say they completed the recapture of another neighborhood of western Mosul on Friday from Islamic State militants after days of heavy clashes. But on Saturday, plumes of smoke could be seen in the northeast of Mosul as heavy fighting continued. It's now more than 7 months since the government launched a wide-scale military offensive to recapture Iraq's second-largest city. The eastern half of Mosul was declared liberated from the ISIL in January, and the more difficult push for the city's western section, separated from the east by the Tigris River, began the following month. Islamic State now only holds a handful of neighborhoods in and around the old city district.
As clashes between ISIS-linked terrorists and government troops in the Philippines continue, residents of Marawi City suffer from the chaos.
12-year-old Jamael recounts he and his mother were buying food in the market of Marawi when suddenly a gun battle erupted. A stampede ensued, and that's when Jamael got separated from his mother.
I ran where all the people were running. but my mother went the other way. I walked for more than 1 hour. I was so scared and so tired.
As Leah said, she was concerned for Jamael's safety, so she brought him along as she fled the city that was under siege by the ISIS-linked Houthi terrorists.
I saw the boy wandering on the road and I pitied him because he was lost. We rode the rescue truck and I sought refuge in a relative's house outside Marawi.
Jamael is worried about his family, especially now that the Houthi group has occupied their village.
I don't know what happened to my family. I always think about them. I hope they are safe.